The Canada Border Services Agency is removing about 400 people a week from the country, a pace of deportation not seen in over a decade.
Overwhelmingly, it is refugee claimants, failed refugee claimants who are being removed in these numbers.
This refugee lawyer says the government may be preparing for its border bill, C-12, which it hopes to pass in the spring.
Our concern is that it will continue to rise once the border bill is passed, and that it is a ramping up to basically prepare both for the increased number of deportations that will happen and also for them to be able to do them as speedily as possible.
Removals dropped below 10,000 a year during the COVID pandemic, but have since surged back. The numbers for the current fiscal year are on track to set a new record high of about 22,000. The cost of all those deportations has also increased to nearly $80 million this year. CBSA says it costs between $3,000 and $4,000 on average to remove someone who leaves willingly without the need for escort. When deportees have to be escorted out of the country, the average cost more than triples.
Just to be clear,
the Kearney government, under its border plan, already gave CBSA an additional $30 million to pay for up to 20,000 removals per year this year and next. The agency says it's on track to deport even more than that. Not all deportees came as asylum seekers. Some came as foreign workers and international students, only to see the rules get tighter.
You might say, well, there are just more and more people who are removable and we have to deal with them. It's important to think about how policy choices create more deportable people.
The Kearney government has said it wants to slow population growth in Canada, and it appears to be succeeding. Canada's population actually dropped in the last fiscal quarter by 76,000 people, the largest quarterly drop ever recorded. Evan Dyer, CBC News, Ottawa.
Canada deporting 400 people a week sounds dramatic, but the real story isn't enforcement. It's policy timing. For years, Canada expanded temporary migration and accepted large numbers of refugee claimants. At the same time, the system slowed during COVID. Files piled up. Hearings were delayed. Removals were paused. That created a backlog that didn't disappear. It just waited. Now, the pause is over. The federal government is preparing to pass Bill C-12, which will make removals faster and more efficient. What's happening now looks less like a sudden crackdown and more like clearing the pipeline before new rules come in. Most people being deported are not criminals. They are failed refugee claimants who have exhausted legal options under Canadian law. That distinction matters because public debate often assumes deportation equals danger. In reality, it usually means a legal status ran out. Costs are rising because speed costs money. Escorts, flights, staff, and security add up fast. Deportation isn't just a legal act. It's a logistical operation, and taxpayers are paying for the acceleration. There's also a political context. The government has openly said it wants slow population growth. And for the first time in decades, Canada's population has actually declined. Deportations are one of the tools being used to rebalance after years of rapid expansion. So this isn't chaos, it's correction. Whether that correction is fair or humane is a separate debate. But understanding the intent behind it helps explain why this is happening now and why it's likely to continue.
Hey Canada, what's new with you? So we're deporting like the most amount of people in a decade. Oh, how many? Around 400 deportations per week. Apparently last year we deported 18,000 people. That cost us $78 million. And now we're deporting even more. But why now? In 2015, we accepted a lot more refugees. And we were rarely deporting any. But then because our population grew too fast, our housing, healthcare, and schools were under pressure. We're like, okay, now we're going to be strict about immigration. We said it cost us $78 million to deport 18,000 people. Yeah, it costs around $12,500 per person. Why? Well, each person deported needs an escort, and escorts are used for medical needs, safety risks, and risks of escaping. And it costs around $12,500 per person. Well, who are you deporting? Like criminals or just normal asylum seekers? So most people deported had their refugee claims rejected. Like only 7% were deported for a crime. And who are the most people you're deporting? Well, the most common citizenships here that get deported are either from Mexico or India. Well, yeah, we are deporting a lot more people now than we did in the past. Well, I really wonder what people think about this.
When people hear the word deportation, they picture criminals. That image is wrong. Only a small fraction of deportations involve criminal activity. Most involve people who simply lost legal status, a claim denied, a permit expired, a rule changed midway. Last year alone, Canada deported around 18,000 people, spending nearly $80 million doing it. That's more than many people expect, and it tells something important. Deportations isn't about punishment, it's about control. Escorts, flights, medical checks, all of it designed to make sure removals happen cleanly and quickly. Speed costs money, and right now, speed is the priority. Why now? Because Canada grew fast. Too fast for housing, healthcare, and schools to keep up. Instead of expanding systems overnight, the government is tightening immigration from the other end. Think of it like traffic. When the road gets congested, authorities don't just add lanes, sometimes they close exits. The numbers aren't random, they are signals. Canada is moving from growth mode into management mode. And people most affected are those whose status was always temporary, even if their lives here didn't feel that way.
Is Canada deporting Indians? Check this out. You need to see this. Huge panic in the community going on. But before we get into actual numbers, here's the agency that does that. CBSA, Canada Border Service Agency. See, they are removing, and it's actually the highest in the last decade. 400 people a week are getting removed out of Canada. Here are the regions by years where people are getting removed from the official sources. Atlantic provinces, Quebec, Northern Ontario, GTA, Southern Ontario, Prairie, and Pacific. So you see that definitely the numbers have spiraled up in the last 3 years. Here is why they're getting deported. You can see criminality, Section 36, transborder criminality, organized crime, misrepresentation. Criminality basically means people had a criminal record or something of that sort, or they did some crimes in Canada. And also organized crime, misrepresentation. It's basically they lied on their application to immigrate to Canada, or on their application, whatever, as international students too. Or, see guys, non-compliance and non-compliance refugee claimants. That's actually the biggest category. As you can see, a lot of refugees, mostly refugees, getting deported. Why is that? It's basically that they do not fall under Section 41 for refugee claimants. So basically, they are not under Canadian legislation, are classified to be refugees, and the categories that they apply to stay in Canada, so they are going back home. This is the most important part. Let's look by countries where people are actually getting deported from, because somebody told me it's Indians and Ukrainians. Well, guys, let's look. Number one category is India. Are you surprised? Well, guys, just because a lot of people are coming from India, the number is probably, that's why they're higher. I'm actually surprised to see Mexico. I didn't know we had so many Mexicans in Canada. That's crazy. But the craziest part is Americans. This is the one that makes me a little bit happy for some reason. Americans are getting deported back to the United States. It's hilarious. Actually, guys, I didn't expect this to be here. China, Nigeria, Colombia, Pakistan, Haiti, Brazil, Chile, and Romanian nationals, including Ukrainians. Everyone is there. So, yeah, people are saying it's Indians and Ukrainians. It's not only Indians, guys. As you can see, it's only a fraction of the entire people. India, Mexico, and Americans are top 3, and the remaining countries are there if you haven't found your country. Now, guys, what do they basically say for refugees? They say that you can either move to another region where it's safer, or you don't fall under that category. So no, it's not true that only Indians are getting deported. It's just a TikTok propaganda. Thanks for watching, guys.
Scroll social media long enough and you'll see it. Canada is deporting Indians. It sounds alarming. It spreads fast. And it's only part of the story. India shows up at the top of deportation lists because India also shows up at the top of arrival lists. More students, more workers, more applications, more outcomes, both good and bad. If deportations were targeted, the data would look different. Instead, removals are rising everywhere and across many nationalities. Americans, Mexicans, Nigerians, Pakistanis, Ukrainians. The list keeps going. What actually decides deportation isn't nationality, it's status. Refugee claims that don't meet legal definitions, visas that expire, applications flagged for mistakes or inconsistencies. The system doesn't care about identity, it cares about paperwork. Social media turns this into panic because panic gets views, but panic also gets people hurt, overstaying, hiding, or trusting the wrong advice. The truth is simple and harder. Canada is enforcing rules that were always there, but rarely moved this fast. This isn't about one country, it's about a system tightening after years of expansion. And once systems tighten, the question stops being who's next. It becomes who is still protected.